When a housekeeper took a stand, an unexpected millionaire transformation was revealed. Maria's heart raced as thunder cracked overhead, sending shockwaves through her modest apartment. She had packed up the last of the dishes when the lights flickered to darkness. A stormy evening in a dull suburban town wasn't how she envisioned her life. But then again, dreams often take a detour. With 3 kids relying on her single-handedly, Maria had always worn her sacrifices like a badge of honor. She was the keeper of their dreams, even if her own seemed a distant memory, like the sunlight breaking through the clouds. As the wind howled outside, panic swept through her neighbors. Stepping out into the tempest, Maria took a deep breath. Instead of curling into despair, she rallied the families from her building. "We can do this together," she urged, her voice steady despite the chaos. One by one, her neighbors joined, bringing whatever they could spare, a can of beans, some frozen chicken. They transformed the darkened hallways into a makeshift kitchen, laughter mingling with their tears as they cooked up communal meals. In moments like these, Maria found joy beneath the roof of struggle, a glimpse into what it meant to be part of a community. Yet when the storm passed and the lights flickered back to life, the callousness of her wealthy employers cut like a knife. "You wasted our food. You should really get your priorities straight," one of them said dismissively as they sauntered back into their gleaming home, their lives untouched by the storm. Maria's heart sank. Their words echoed, creating a hollow pit in her chest. Had all her efforts been for nothing? When her children questioned whether hard work really paid off, her heart ached with doubt. But that evening, after everyone had settled back into their daily routines, she stumbled across a hidden room in the mansion she meticulously cleaned. Dust danced in the air as she pushed open the creaking door, revealing a hoard of memorabilia from a local entrepreneur, a man whose humble beginnings mirrored her own struggles. As she sifted through letters and photographs, something shifted within her. Could this discovery lead to a change? But was it right for her to reach for something greater, while her neighbors depended on her strength? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Maria's discovery didn't remain hidden for long. News of her community efforts spread, painting her with a halo of heroism. Offers began to flood in, invitations to speak, to mentor, to perhaps claim an inheritance tied to her lineage from that very entrepreneur who graced the memorabilia. Suddenly, she was at a crossroads that threatened to split her heart wide open. Wealth and opportunity shined brightly ahead, juxtaposed against the familiar faces of her neighbors and everything they had built together through love and service. As Maria watched her community come together, her heart fluttered with hope while tethered with responsibility. Now, she faced the most immense decision of her life. Would she pursue this newfound prosperity for her family? Or would she choose the people who epitomized her journey of resilience? The faces of her neighbors loomed in her thoughts as she gripped the phone, awaiting the lawyer's call, the question of her worth lingering in the air. Would she forever change her life, or continue pouring her spirit into the community that raised her? Maria's phone buzzed, a vibration that felt both electric and heavy in her hand. She stared at the screen, the lawyer's name lighting up her vision. Her breath hitched as she recalled the dusty photographs. The man who had fought and clawed his way to the top, who had once been just like her, buried under struggles of his own. With a deep breath, she swiped to answer. "Maria, thank you for taking my call." The lawyer's voice flowed through the speaker, smooth but businesslike. "There are some exciting opportunities ahead for you." Exciting felt like too bland a word, an understatement that barely brushed the surface of what lay ahead. As he detailed the potential inheritance, her mind wandered back to last week's storm. The laughter and warmth of her neighbors resonated in her ears. It was a stark contrast to the sterile world of wealth that awaited her. Could she truly leave them behind? "Are you there, Maria?" The lawyer's question broke through her reverie. Yes, I'm here," she replied, shaking off the mental fog. "Right. I think you would find it beneficial to come in and discuss your options. This isn't just about money. It could be a chance to transform not only your life, but also that of your family, perhaps even your community." The invitation hovered in the air, heavy with weighty implications. Transform her life or build a bridge for her neighbors. The tension twisted in her gut. Maria hung up, her heart racing. She stepped out onto her small balcony, letting the cool night air wrap around her like a comforting blanket. The city lights flickered, but in her mind, another light was flickering, a path diverging ahead of her, unseen, but palpably felt. In the following days, invitations to various community events poured in. People wanted to hear her story. Aspiring entrepreneurs sought her guidance, each person fueled by their struggles. Every time she stood to share her journey, she felt a renewed sense of purpose wash over her. This was her realm, and people not only encouraged her to take center stage, but thrived in her strength. But whispers of her potential inheritance danced through the community too, growing into hushed conversations behind closed doors. What will she do? Will she leave us behind? It hurt her deeply to think that the people she had grown to love would think she'd abandon them. Did wealth always equate to distance? Every smile, every shared meal, every night spent rallying together swirled in her mind like a vortex. One windy afternoon, Maria decided to hold a community meeting. She craved connection, a way to address the swirling rumors that threatened her heart. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the room filled with faces that carried stories of resilience just like hers. "Thank you for coming," she began, feeling every heartbeat in her chest. "I need to share something important." Rumors of her potential fortune sent a ripple of murmurs across the crowd. Anxiety thrummed in the air. Maria took a deep breath, pushing worry to the side. "I don't know what the future holds, but whatever I choose, I want you all to know you are my home." With every eye in the room focused on her, she realized this moment was pivotal. It tethered her to who she was, to the promises and dreams that had shaped her journey. But the heavier truth loomed ahead, as a voice in her heart whispered a question that prickled the back of her mind. If she pursued this wealthy path, could she truly change her world for the better? Or was it destined to create more distance? As their gazes met, the weight of the decision hung heavy. Would their community's strength rally behind her if she chose wealth? Maria swallowed hard, emotions swirling within her. The stakes had never been higher, and the future whispered promises she wasn't yet ready to decipher. The days blurred into each other, momentum building like a rising tide. Maria felt the weight of expectation pressing on her shoulders. Every moment spent in her neighborhood, each laugh shared, felt like echoes of a life she wasn't sure she'd still lead. The community was her heartbeat, but the potential inheritance loomed like a shadow at the edge of her consciousness. She found herself making rounds, visiting neighbors and simply being present. Each visit was another chance to feel the heartbeat of her community, to hear their stories, their struggles, their hopes. She witnessed a single mother trying to balance 2 jobs, a retired firefighter pouring his savings into a local diner, and a young artist sketching dreams of a better tomorrow. With every story, Maria became more aware of what she risked losing. The warmth of gathering around a shared table, the feeling of being part of something greater than oneself, rooted deep in her. Yet the life the lawyer described felt so tantalizingly close. She could thrive, but at what cost? That evening, she sat at her kitchen table, staring blankly at the community calendar. The next huge festival was coming up, a chance to celebrate, but also a chance for connections. Rumors might simmer in the background, but amidst the laughter and joy, isn't where she truly belonged? With sudden determination, she grabbed a marker and wrote a big yes across the date of the festival. No matter what happened, it would showcase unity, love, and strength. It was a space where any fortune could be shared, embraced, and utilized to uplift instead of divide. In the days leading to the festival, Maria's phone buzzed again. It was the lawyer, a reminder about a meeting scheduled on the very day of the festival. She flinched, her heart racing. Can't he see how important this day is? Maria, I need your decision on the inheritance, he pressed gently. Think about how much could change. Or how much I could lose, Maria shot back, surprising herself. The conversation left her unsettled, the tension rolling within her like thunder. Could her future really look bright if it overshadowed her past? As the festival approached, Maria spent hours preparing. She coordinated with her neighbors, gathering produce for a communal potluck and crafting together decorations from recycled materials. Each moment of teamwork felt like stitching a vibrant tapestry, woven with shared memories and laughter. But even as she laughed and helped, doubts nagged at her mind. What if this wasn't enough? On the day of the festival, the air buzzed with excitement. Laughter mingled with the scent of grilled burgers and homemade pies. But as Maria approached the gathering, a knot twisted in her stomach. Her heart raced at the thought of having to break the news about the inheritance. She felt that weight again, the weight of expectation, fear, and anticipation. Standing on the makeshift stage, she looked out at the sea of familiar faces. They were each filled with hope, joy, and perhaps a bit of uncertainty. Taking a deep breath, she began. Today is a celebration of us, for the work we've done together, the love that binds us, the resilience that springs from every one of our stories. As I stand here, I feel the pull of two lives, one where I could leave and find fortune, and one where I could stay and find purpose. The murmurs in the crowd quieted, tension crackling in the air. What if I could show you that wealth doesn't mean leaving behind the roots that ground us? A hand shot up in the crowd. But Maria, what will you choose? She locked eyes with her neighbor, each face in the crowd reflecting her own struggles and dreams. The moment of truth was upon her. Could she choose connection over comfort? Maria took another breath, heart pounding as her next words hovered on the lips of destiny. I still don't have the answer, but I promise to find a way. Together. And just like that, she realized, the choice was both about herself and everyone she loved. The future may have been murky, but her heart was clear. In that tender moment, the festival faded away from Maria, replaced by the real celebration of choice and unity. But was it too late to fully embrace the life she desired? Or would the path still lead her into uncharted territory? As the sun dipped low, a glimmer of hope twinkled in her heart. This was only the beginning. The festival buzzed around Maria like the hum of 1,000 bees. She felt alive, yet tethered by uncertainty. Her heart swelled as she looked at the faces in the crowd. Children ran barefoot, their laughter filling the air, while families gathered, planting roots into the soil of togetherness. A voice in the back of her mind whispered, "This is where you belong." But the specter of her meeting with the lawyer loomed large. She couldn't shake the way his words had weighed down her spirit. What if this community, this love, wasn't enough? What if choosing it meant forever turning her back on a promise of a different life? The conflicting thoughts twisted like an unrelenting knot inside her chest. Swaying slightly, Maria took in her surroundings. She overheard snippets of conversation. Did you hear about the new playground plans? We should organize a trip for the kids. As she moved through the crowd, exchanging smiles and nods, a familiar face caught her eye. It was Mrs. Velasco, the single mother she had visited a few days ago. Maria felt a tug at her heartstrings. Mrs. Velasco had battled through hardships, But here she was, radiant and filled with laughter, as she helped her daughter paint faces for the kids. "Maria, come join us," Mrs. Velasco called out, waving enthusiastically. The happiness in her voice melted Maria's reservations. Stepping closer, Maria picked up a brush, and as she began decorating little faces with delicate butterfly wings and rainbow stars, she noticed how every stroke filled her heart with a bittersweet warmth. Here was joy weaving into her life's tapestry, each child's delighted squeal pushing away her doubts. She closed her eyes for a moment, inhaling the aroma of roasted corn and spices in the air. Maybe purpose doesn't come from wealth, she thought. Maybe it's about the happiness we create together. But then, a tug on her shirt broke her reverie. It was Julia, the young artist who had been sketching earnestly near the entrance of the festival. "Maria, look what I made." The girl proudly held up a drawing, a vibrant depiction of the whole community, hands joined, smiling together under a giant sun. Amidst the colors and the celebration, Maria felt something shift inside her. The life she had longed for in wealth suddenly paled in comparison to the richness she witnessed here. But a travel-sized thought lingered. How would she reconcile this with the inheritance looming over her? Hours passed as Maria mingled, danced, and shared stories. It felt like a bright kaleidoscope had been spun around her, and all her fears dimmed. Just then, the buzz of her phone jolted her back to reality. "Maria, we need to talk," flashed on the screen. It was the lawyer again. Her heart raced as she looked toward the setting sun. Could she postpone the meeting? With a quick decision, she turned her phone off, embracing the moment instead of letting it slip through her fingers. As dusk settled, lanterns started flickering to life around the park, illuminating the faces she had grown to love, hearts bursting with laughter and connection. "Tomorrow," she whispered to herself. "I will figure it out tomorrow." As she joined in a circle, the music rising, Maria felt that familiar knot start to loosen. There was magic here. She was part of magic. But even as joy enveloped her, fragments of her life ahead felt unfocused. Torn between two paths, she wondered, what would tomorrow hold? As the night deepened, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in the nearby pond. A woman, transformed, yet still at a crossroad. The choices ahead unfolded like a book yet to be written, each page brimming with uncertainty. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling deep within. She was on the cusp of something great. Could clarity break through her fear? In that moment of stillness, she felt the weight of destiny press down again. But this time, it was accompanied by a flicker of courage. What would she discover when dawn arrived, and she faced her truth? The morning light filtered through Maria's window, casting soft shadows across her bedroom. The festival felt like a dream, a blissful escape that added momentum to her thoughts. Yet, as she sat up and traced the outline of her future in her mind, a heavy blanket of apprehension weighed her down. She grabbed her phone and stared at the blank screen, the lawyer's message looming like a dark cloud. "I can't keep pushing this away," she murmured to herself, knowing deep down that the choice she faced was about more than just money. It was about who she wanted to be. After a hurried breakfast, Maria decided to take a walk through the community. The fresh air would clear her mind, or so she hoped. As she wandered past the bakery, the warm scent of cinnamon rolls drifted out into the street, tempting her to step inside. But she was on a mission today, to find clarity and to confront her truth. The vibrant colors of her neighborhood warmed her heart. Children played tag in the street, their laughter echoing off the walls of the houses she loved. Mrs. Velasco waved from her porch, the unforgettable radiance of joy still painted across her face. "Good morning, Maria. Are you okay?" she called out. "Just thinking," Maria replied, forcing a smile. It was easier to appear fine than to unravel her tangled mind in front of others. But Mrs. Velasco's eyes had a way of peering right into her soul. If anyone could sense the storm within her, it was her. "Thinking is good," she said, her voice soothing. But don't forget to feel too. Sometimes our hearts know what our heads can't figure out. Maria nodded slowly, the depth of those words settling in her chest. As she stepped away, she noticed the art Julia had created the day before. It hung on a nearby fence, a vibrant reminder of community. Those painted colors seemed to grasp at her, urging her to focus on what truly mattered. She wandered down the little paths lined with flowers and laughter, where neighbors greeted one another with waves and smiles. The contrast to her life back home was striking. She imagined living in a high-rise filled with silence, stark like a city void of warmth. Here, she witnessed life in a way that screamed connection, a riot of emotion that pulsated like a heartbeat. Her feet moved almost mindlessly, drawing her toward the park. The sun was bright, illuminating faces that sparkled with joy. Each person she watched reminded her of the night before, of laughter, of hope, and shared happiness. Suddenly, she spotted Julia again, sketching by the park's edge. Maria felt a tug at her heart. What if the young artist's perspective offered her the insight she desperately sought? "Hey, Julia!" she called out, kneeling next to her. "Can I take a look at what you're working on?" The girl grinned and turned the sketch pad to face Maria. The drawing was a burst of color, but this time there were birds swirling above the community, soaring freely. "I'm imagining us all flying together," Julia said, her voice bright and full of hope. Maria's breath caught in her throat. It was a simple idea, but so powerful. "What if I could fly?" she whispered, thinking of all the weight holding her down. "Of course you can. You just have to believe you can," Julia replied, her earnestness radiating warmth. In that moment, Maria felt a shift, a dawning realization. Maybe this choice wasn't just about struggling between two lives. Maybe it was about crafting a new one, a blend of everything she loved. The morning stretched before her, bright and full of possibility. Could she truly create a life that merged her dreams with the love surrounding her? As she stood, determination surged inside her. She could be brave. She would face the lawyer today. She would find out if there was a way to weave both her worlds together. But as she turned to head back home, a shiver of uncertainty ran down her spine. What if the meeting opened doors she wasn't ready to walk through? The weight of expectation pressed down again. But this time, Maria clenched her fists, feeling a fire grow within. "I can do this," she said aloud, her voice carrying strength. The sun blazed brighter overhead, illuminating the path ahead. What awaited her at that meeting? Would she find answers, or would new questions ripple her life further? Maria was still feeling the warmth of Julia's words as she made her way home. The sun hung high in the sky, optimistic and bright, but her heart felt heavy again. Stepping through her front door, she paused, feeling the familiar chill of her apartment envelop her. The walls, painted in bland hues, seemed to close in, a poignant reminder of the confines she was trying to escape. She tried to shake off the weight pressing down on her heart as she placed her phone on the kitchen counter. The message from her lawyer flashed back to her mind, a reminder of the looming meeting. She glanced at the clock and took a deep breath. Time was slipping away, but the countdown didn't urge her feet to move any faster. In the quiet of her apartment, she let her thoughts swirl. What was it about this decision that caused such turmoil? Her mind raced with memories of her past, the laughter from dinners shared with friends, the feeling of walking through her vibrant neighborhood, and Julia's hopefulness, each image filled with warmth and possibility. As she pulled a chair out and sat down, she felt the hardness of the wood beneath her, a stark contrast to the soft, inviting playground of her community. She had chosen her apartment for practicality, a safe corner in a bustling city, but it had started to feel like a cage. With her heart racing, Maria picked up the phone and stared at it, fingers hovering above the screen. An urge to reach out for advice flickered within her. What if she texted Mrs. Velasco? The kind woman always seemed to know the right thing to say. But what would she say? "I'm about to make a life-changing decision, but I don't know what I'm doing." Before she could dial, an idea struck her. She needed to find out what the lawyer had in store for her. Gathering her courage, she got to her feet and gathered her notes from yesterday's meeting in the living room. Each paper was filled with hastily scribbled thoughts and questions, capturing the doubts and hopes that had plagued her since the festival. 20 minutes later, Maria found herself standing outside the law office. As she gazed at the shiny building, she fought back a wave of nausea. Her heart thumped loudly in her chest. What if she messed this up? Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside, greeted by the coolness of the air conditioning and the muted conversations around her. The receptionist smiled, but Maria barely returned it. Her mind was miles away, up in the clouds perhaps. Maria? The lawyer's voice broke through her internal storm, jolting her back to the moment. He gestured for her to come in, and sudden dread curled in her stomach. Taking another deep breath, she stepped into the office, forcing herself to remain steady. "Thank you for coming," he said, looking almost too professional in his sharp suit. Maria nodded, but her voice almost faltered. As the attorney began discussing the legalities of her situation, she struggled to focus. Words blurred as fear took hold. Yet amidst that fear, she felt the flicker of resolve from the morning. She reminded herself of Julia's drawings, visions of soaring above the world, embracing freedom. "What if I want to explore different options?" she suddenly asked, surprising even herself. The reality of her dream mixed with her hesitations. The lawyer raised an eyebrow, taken aback. "Different options?" "Yes," she pressed on, her voice growing stronger. "What if I could combine what I want? Life here and the financial stability? Can we blend those?" His expression shifted, interest peaked. "That's not a typical approach, but I'm open to exploring it if you're willing." A rush of hope washed over her, igniting a spark she thought had gone cold. Maybe there was a way to script her own narrative, one where she didn't have to abandon her roots for a new life. "Let's explore every avenue then," she declared, conviction roaring back in her voice. Yet, as she settled into this newfound determination, a voice in her head whispered doubts. What challenges lay ahead? How far would she have to stretch her comfort zone? The meeting carried on, details churned, ideas bounced around, and by the end, Maria felt a mix of exhilaration and fear. As she stepped out of the office, the sun hit her face like a warm embrace, and a sensation flickered inside her. She was cultivating a path forward. But just as she thought she had a grip on what was happening, her phone buzzed relentlessly in her pocket. Was it a message from Mrs. Velasco? Or could it be from someone else? Someone who could upend her plans entirely? What awaited her on the other side of that screen? Maria's heart raced as she pulled out her phone. The screen lit up with a message, but it wasn't from Mrs. Velasco. Instead, it was a text from an unidentified number. "Maria, it's Jacob. I need to talk to you urgently." Her breath hitched. Jacob? They hadn't spoken much since he left for the business conference weeks ago. She had sent him a couple of texts about the project at the festival, but nothing significant. Why did he want to talk urgently? A knot twisted in her stomach as she read the words again, trying to unpack the sudden wave of anxiety washing over her. Maria hesitated. Should she ignore it or respond? The lawyer's words still echoed in her mind. What if she was finally on the brink of something new, something exciting? But what did Jacob want? She pressed her lips together, feeling the anxiety swirl again. "I can't keep running away from things," she muttered to herself, recalling Julia's encouragement. With a deep breath, she typed back, "What's going on? I'm in the middle of something important." Moments felt like hours as she awaited his response. The sun sank lower in the sky, casting golden hues through her apartment windows, painting shadows on the walls. Would this be another complication? Just when she thought she was finding her way. Her phone buzzed again, pulling her from her thoughts. Can we meet? I have news that could change everything for you. Maria felt a chill at his words. Change. It was a loaded term, and she was already juggling so many potential changes in her life. But could this news lead to something hopeful, or would it unsettle the precarious balance she was trying to create? After a moment of turmoil in her mind, she texted back, "Where and when?" "Let's meet at the park near your place in an hour." She glanced around her drab apartment. This small space felt confining. Maybe a breath of fresh air in the park would do her good. "Okay," she replied, feeling a mix of apprehension and excitement. An hour later, Maria found herself walking towards the park, the familiar path offering her comfort. She had walked this route countless times, each step reminding her of the moments she had sat on the benches, lost in thought. But today, there was a sense of anticipation sparking in her chest. As she approached the park, she spotted Jacob pacing beneath the large oak tree. He looked different, his suit tailored perfectly, but there was a tension in his posture. Their eyes met, and she felt her heart beat just a little faster. "Maria," he greeted, his voice tight with urgency. "What's going on?" Her brow furrowed in concern as she crossed her arms. He glanced around, checking if anyone was listening, then lowered his voice. "I've been working on a project that involves a significant investment opportunity. I think your ideas could fit perfectly, but I need you to be all in." Her mind raced. Investment? Her ideas? Was he serious? "What do you mean, all in?" He took a step closer, intensity in his eyes. "I mean, if we team up, we're looking at a chance to not only launch something powerful, but also to create real change. I believe in you, Maria. You could finally take that leap of faith." Her heart pounded in her chest, a mixture of fear and excitement coursing through her veins. Could this be the opportunity she had been waiting for? But what if it was just another illusion, another door she was about to open? "Can I think about it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," he replied, a grin breaking through. "But know the clock is ticking on this. It won't be there forever." Maria watched him walk away, a storm of thoughts tumbling in her head. Had Jacob just thrown her a lifeline, or was he just another source of distraction? The sun was setting, splashes of pink and orange bleeding into the twilight sky. In that moment, she felt both terrified and exhilarated, teetering on the edge of an unknown venture. Deep inside, she realized this was more than an investment opportunity. It was a reflection of her choices, a mirror to who she wanted to be. Did she dare step into that light? Her phone buzzed again, jarring her from her thoughts. Another message, this time from Mrs. Velasco. "Maria, dear, I sense a change approaching. Are you ready for it?" What did that mean? Was the universe pushing her toward something greater? Maria looked up at the fading light, her heart racing once more with the weight of decisions before her. There was no going back now. What was waiting for her around the corner was unknown, but as she turned her gaze toward the park's horizon, she knew one thing for sure. She needed to embrace whatever came next. Maria stood in the park, the last rays of sunlight casting a warm glow over everything. She felt grounded, yet unsteady, as if the earth beneath her feet was shifting. Jacob's words swirled in her head. Investment, opportunity, all in. Her heart was a pendulum, swinging between doubt and hope. She pulled out her phone again, staring at the text from Mrs. Velasco, letting her thumb hover over the screen. What change was coming? The lawyer's cryptic words lingered, leaving her anxious. But it was Jacob who had ignited that flicker of possibility inside her. Taking a deep breath, she walked towards the park's exit. The pathway was lined with budding flowers, vibrant against the darkening sky. It reminded her of the festival preparations, the excitement brewing in her gut, a feeling she hadn't experienced in a while. She yearned to channel that into something real. The thoughts of her future and Jacob's proposition swirled together. Could she really dive into this? The stakes felt immense. A business venture could lead to great freedom or a crushing failure. She thought about the years spent working tirelessly as a housekeeper, always being the one supporting others' dreams while setting her own aside. This was her moment. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, the unexpected vibration jolting her from her reverie. It was a video call from Julia. Maria smiled as she answered, eager to share her current whirlwind of emotions. "Hey, you won't believe the day I've had," Maria began, her voice brimming with excitement. "Tell me everything. I'm all ears," Julia said, her face lighting up the screen. Maria recounted her conversation with Jacob, the crispness of his suit, the urgency in his tone. "He believes in me, Jules, and it's like maybe I've been given a key to a door I never knew existed." "That's incredible," Julia exclaimed, bouncing slightly in her chair. "You have to think it through, though. Are you ready to commit?" "I want to be," Maria replied, her gaze drifting to the sunset behind her. "But what if I fail? What if we spend all this time and resources, and it doesn't go anywhere?" "Or," Julia said slowly, "what if it takes you somewhere amazing? Sometimes the greatest risks lead to the best rewards. You deserve this chance, Maria." Maria felt a warmth spread through her, bolstered by her best friend's unwavering support. Julia's words rang true, echoing the sentiment of taking a leap of faith. "I just don't know what kind of person I would be if I didn't at least try." They chatted about everything that filled Maria's heart and mind, the festival, her fears and dreams, with Julia encouraging her at every turn. "I'm afraid of change, Jules. What if I become the person I've always wanted to be but lose myself along the way?" "You won't lose yourself. You'll find yourself," Julia said softly. "You're the one that carries your dreams inside you. They won't go anywhere without you." Tears pricked at Maria's eyes, touched by the unyielding love from her friend. Maybe Julia was right. Maybe like the vibrant flowers in the park, she too could bloom. As they finished their call, the park had grown darker, and night folded around her like a comforting blanket. Maria's heart fluttered with newfound determination. She turned her phone back on and stared at the message from Mrs. Velasco before typing a quick reply. "I'm ready for the changes." It was a bold declaration, a promise to herself. But as she turned to leave the park, a sudden chill ran down her spine. Just a few yards away, she noticed a figure emerging from the shadows. Someone clad in a dark coat, approaching fast. Maria's breath caught in her throat. What was happening? And why did she feel like she was standing on the edge of something much bigger than just her career? Maria's heart raced as she tried to discern the figure approaching her. The dim light made it hard to see, but the silhouette was unmistakable. Tall, confident, with an air of urgency. As the figure stepped closer, her instincts kicked in. Was this someone to fear, or a possible ally? "Maria?" The voice cut through the darkness, familiar yet tinged with a nervousness that sent a shiver down her spine. "Jacob." She blinked, disbelief washing over her. Why was he here? And how had he found her? He rushed forward, a sense of purpose in his strides, and when he stood before her, she could see his face. There was a sheen of sweat on his brow. "I was hoping to catch you before you left the park. I needed to talk." With her heart still racing, Maria swallowed her surprise. "About what? The proposal? I was just—" "No, it's more than that," he interrupted, glancing around as if checking for eavesdroppers. "It's about the opportunity, about you, specifically. Things changed while you were at the cafe." "What do you mean?" Maria's heart sank. Was this bad news? A sign that she should not dive into the unknown? Jacob took a deep breath, his words spilling out quickly. "I found out that there's a whole lot more at stake than what I initially thought. Investors are watching us. If you say yes, it's not just our project. It's about making a statement. It's about you owning your path. For yourself. And for those who need a voice. Something flickered inside Maria. Hope mingled with fear. Was this what she'd been waiting for? But I'm scared, Jacob. My whole life has been about supporting others. What if I mess this up? Then you learn, and we adjust, he said, stepping even closer, the urgency of his presence palpable. But if you don't try, Maria, you'll never know what you could achieve. Think of the freedom this path could bring. You could build something from the ground up that means something to you. His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket. She thought of all the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, and the dreams deferred. But here she was, tempted by a door wide open, ready to reveal a world she had only dreamed of. Jacob, She hesitated, the weight of her past tethering her insecurity. Look, he said, softening his tone. I believe in you. You've worked hard for so long. Now it's time for you to step into the light. We can do this together. The sincerity in his eyes made her pulse quicken. This was her moment, and it felt impossibly real. She took a step closer, her resolve forging against the backdrop of uncertainty. Okay, she said, her voice firm. I'm in. I want to know everything, every detail. A smile broke across Jacob's face, entirely genuine. Great. Let's meet tomorrow to go over everything. I can outline a plan, map out the steps, and talk about the investors. As Maria turned to leave, excitement coursed through her veins. But just then, a voice called out from the shadows. Maria, is that you? Her heart dropped as she recognized it. It was Mrs. Velasco, her lawyer, sounding urgent and serious. Why are you here? Maria asked, dread creeping in. I need to talk to you about something important. Something that may change everything. Maria felt the ground shift beneath her again as she turned toward Mrs. Velasco, unsure of what to expect. What news could be so significant that it might alter her decision, and could she handle whatever was about to unfold? The gentle rustle of leaves turned into an overwhelming wind as Maria faced the woman who had been a guiding force in her community, Mrs. Velasco. There was urgency in her tone, an intensity that sent Maria's heart racing. Maria, please, Mrs. Velasco said, desperation creeping into her voice. I need you to listen to me. It's about the inheritance. There are complications, risks that could jeopardize everything you're building. Maria felt the air leave her lungs. What do you mean? I thought this was my chance. Mrs. Velasco stepped closer, her eyes filled with concern. It is a chance, yes, but at what cost? I've been doing some digging about the entrepreneur tied to your inheritance. His past was riddled with struggles, but so is his legacy. Fame doesn't always equate to happiness, sweetheart. You might be getting into something that's beyond your control. The weight of those words hit Maria like a bucket of ice water. Her dreams, her plans to merge companionship with potential wealth, began to feel elusive and precarious. Was this the beginning of her salvation, or the start of a disastrous gamble? Is it worth it? Maria whispered, her voice wavering. She thought of her community's warmth, their laughter around the shared meals, and the crystal-clear innocence in Julia's art. I can't just abandon what I've built. Mrs. Velasco tightened her grip on Maria's arm. Exactly. What you've built is precious. Sometimes the richest lives are the simplest. Look around you. These people love you, they support you, and they need you. That's wealth in its purest form. The sun dipped below the horizon as Maria digested her words. She saw shifting silhouettes of her neighbors in the fading light, unaware of the turmoil swirling around her. But the brightly lit life that Jacob proposed still flickered in her mind like a firefly trapped in a jar, glowing yet unreachable. Realization struck her. I don't have to choose wealth to find purpose, she said, her conviction growing stronger. And I don't have to let fear hold me back either. Maria, Jacob interjected, sensing the change in atmosphere. We can create something powerful. We can bring your community along this path. You have the potential, the capability to make a difference. She turned to him, meeting his eyes. There had been apprehension, excitement, and possibility in the air. But just now, she recognized a deeper truth. I see that now. But we need to build something rooted in connection, not isolation. Jacob's eyebrows knitted together, curiosity piqued. What do you mean? I want to leverage this opportunity not for greed, but to uplift those around me, she said, passion igniting in her voice. What if we could merge the vision for this project with the community spirit I treasure? Think bigger than just profit. We could create jobs, art programs, and initiatives to give back. Maria saw a flicker of understanding light up in Jacob's eyes. You're saying you want to build a community project together, using this investment as a springboard? Yes, she exclaimed. Countless faces could turn dreams into reality right here where they belong. You see, it's not about abandoning what I have. It's about expanding it beyond me. Mrs. Velasco nodded, relief washing over her as Maria wrapped her arms around the vision that filled her heart. That's the spirit, Maria. You're meant to do great things, and you'll do them in partnership with those who love you. The mixture of anticipation and enthusiasm hummed in the air. Jacob smiled wider, a hint of admiration evident. Then that's it. Tomorrow, we'll set the groundwork for a proposal that involves everyone. The community will invest emotionally and financially. You'll lead the charge. Maria glanced back towards her neighbors, illuminated by street lamps, laughter floating through the air. She wanted them close, to feel every moment of victory together, to believe they could all rise above their struggles. Tomorrow, then, let's start weaving our dreams into reality, together. As the three of them stood in the fading light, the night sky opened up around them, painted with stars. New paths of possibility glittered before Maria, illuminated by love, determination, and, of course, hope. Finally feeling anchored in her choices, Maria smiled, clarity breaking through the last of the fog hanging over her heart. She wouldn't just be someone trying to escape her past. She would embrace it, along with her community, transforming the path forward into something magnificent. It was time to harness her roots and soar. Not only for herself, but for all those who called her home. What a glorious beginning it would be. And now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support matters more than ever. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your voice counts. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. You're part of this journey, and only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.